Okay. Eric, are we ready to go? Okay, are we recording? I gavel to order this July 24th meeting of the Public Safety Committee. Roll call, please.
Chairman Plufka.
Here.
Alderwoman Sims. Here. Alderman Lockmiller.
Here.
Alderwoman Harder. Here. All members are present.
Thank you very much. Is this your first meeting? The second meeting? Welcome. Our next item is the approval of the agenda. Has everybody on the committee had a chance to review the agenda? And are there any changes that they wish to make? Seeing none, the agenda will stand as submitted. Our next topic is citizen comments. If there's anybody either here in the room or online who wishes to make a comment to this committee with regard to Brentwood public safety issues, you'll be given 3 minutes. Please step forward, identify yourself with your name and address. Okay, I will close citizen comments and ask for reports of the chair and the alderman. As the chairman, I do not have a report. Alderwoman Sims?
No report.
Thank you. Alderman Lockmiller?
No report.
Alderwoman Harder?
No report.
Thank you, both of you. It's time now for the city administrator's report. Eric, are you going to provide that for us?
No report.
There we go. It's fantastic. You can tell Bola. I actually texted Bola and told her I might be this close to late, so I'm sorry I didn't get the message to you.
Where is it all?
We have no old business. We have, oh, I'm sorry, we're not there yet. We have department reports. And first we'll hear from our police department. Chief?
Good afternoon. I'd like to start off by talking briefly about our crime report. This will be a brief report. This is month of July thus far has been one of the lowest months in crime since I've been here. I've been over 6 years. Nighttime crime has basically dried up. So these are all good things. I'd like to stand here and tell you that it's because of our hard work and dedication and great service, which is part of the ingredients of why. But the reality of it is there's some other outlying reasons why we believe that this is happening, including which is a change of the prosecutor in the city. Some pressure put on the juvenile authorities in the last few months, chief of police in the area and others. So there's been some initiatives beyond just our local enforcement activity that I think is effective. There were a couple of cases in the month of July, as I mentioned. We had 4 juveniles that apparently followed a DoorDash driver at the 88 block of Flamingo on the 6th of July. 4 juveniles get out to Major delivery at a taxi car. Our officers responded to the call and have 4 kids. They're all juveniles. Recovered the property, got stuff back for her. The second case we were dealing with in July, but also on 7/6, and this was a kind of a disturbing case out of the Happy Feet Day Spa in the 2500 block of Brentwood, where a customer getting a massage went in and after his massage pulled a knife on the woman that was doing the massage, threatened her, asked for a sexual favor, got into a confrontation with her, and then he ended up leaving. So we're investigating that assault. At this point, there's been no arrest in that case, and there's been no case that we could find that was similar, which is kind of unusual. Everything that we've seen about this particular massage place, it seems to be a valid up-and-up place. So there wasn't some of the seedy things that we may see in that business with some businesses involved in this one. So that continues to be an ongoing investigation. One of the things I was going to mention in our crime report is that Major Simpson has changed and reshaped our night patrol strategy. As you know, we have always, since I was here, asked our officers to cover the city streets, including on the night watch, as thoroughly as possible. Jason came to me with the idea of switching that and really focusing on the areas that we get hit in the areas of crime most frequently. What we sacrifice there is our folks seeing our cars in their neighborhoods more frequently. It doesn't mean they're not in the neighborhoods, it just means that on night watch, they're really focusing on areas that we were getting hit. So think the Drury Inn, think Brentwood Forest, and other areas. I think that's also contributed to some of our crime reduction at night. The officers have attempted to stop several cars during this period, this July period, that have fled from them, made it to the city border and moved on. So I think that that's part of this, that strategy, I think, is part of this success that we've seen in recent weeks with regard to nighttime crime. The second area I was going to talk to you about, that's on the agenda for tonight, was our parks. I asked our park assigned officers to give us some input on how things are going, just kind of a status of an update of the park, and just to give you some of their perspective. We were going just about on a nightly basis after dark into the park and getting rid of teenagers mostly that were in there drinking and just kind of hanging out and having fun in the park after hours. That has really dwindled. We have our park officers and our on-duty officers that have really been hitting it after dark and trying to keep those folks out of the park. And it's a lot better than it was. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen again, but it's better than it was. You may recall we had some complaints from the neighbors in the area about that. And we haven't had a complaint in last couple of weeks about the issue. The overflow parking has, according to our officers, worked extremely well. They hear a lot of positive comments from people that use the park about parking now being available. They have gotten a few complaints. Complaints probably a little strong, but they've gotten people that have made comments on after nighttime events in our park as they walk back to their cars that the paths are really dark. So it might be a consideration as we talk to the Parks Department. Maybe there's some ground lighting we can do and things like that to maybe assist in that. But Mike Collins in particular, Officer Collins, has actually walked people on that path at night after the concert events and things like that. Or if there's a party that goes into the nighttime hours. And of course, that's going to happen more frequently now as the sun's setting, as we head into fall. So just an issue that they thought might help as a little lighting along that path. Another issue that they see repeatedly is there's gridlock on the parking lot when it's busy on the main parking lot next to in the park itself. And each of the park officers thinks there might be a better way to do the park planning in terms of in and out of the area. Might be worth a discussion again with Eric and Parks to see, is there a way to maybe make it one way in certain ways in and out of that park to make that flow a little easier. The last thing that they mentioned was Park and Dan's group had tried to put up a fencing area around the retention pond. The kids are swimming in. One kind of splash pad. That because it's a concern. The park officers assigned there say there are small children that do it too, and they're worried about somebody getting hurt, seriously hurt and potentially. So they've asked for consideration for some type of more permanent fencing because every time the fencing goes up, apparently the kids crawl over it anyway. It's temporary. So those are some concerns coming out of the parks officers. Overall, the report on the park is extremely positive. Rave reviews, like I'm sure our parks department does about the parks. Mostly positive things. The only complaint we've had are tickets written, and they've written a lot of tickets. They're still writing tickets on people parking both in the handicap area, the main parking lot area, and in the signage that we put up for the resident only. I think there are over 50 tickets now written in the last 3 or 4 weeks. So, those are mostly generated by people calling. So, if they violate the handicap, officers see it on the parking lot. But a lot of the bags written in the neighborhood have been calls from the people that are living in the neighborhood. And that was all the topics of the park. If there's any questions, discuss with you.
Questions from the committee? Steve?
Up a juvenile, what do you do with them? Take them to Richmond Heights? Do you call his parents? Where do you put
No,
them?
we depending on the case, the severity of the case, but typically they will call the juvenile building and they'll say, this is what we have. say it's a stolen car, for example, would be most common. And they will then order the policeman to either take the kid home to their parent or bring them to the building, and at that point, they'd be booked in. So if it's take home to the parent, usually what we do is bring them to the station, call the parent, and have the parent come, hopefully, come out and pick the kid up.
You guys have any other questions? Well, you said the juvenile building, you mean the one over in Clayton?
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Do we have anybody from the fire department?
Unfortunately, Chief Cottrell's at a training, and Chief Burney had a family emergency, so I am ready to give the report. I'll try not to do it verbatim, since you can read it. But for the report, they did say that for the month of June, there weren't many alarms, but there were a few severe weather events, and obviously them getting ready for their planning process for all the assets that they had feel like they're getting better and better after each event. For training, they did spend a lot of time training in June. A lot of time was spent at the center, so we saw them come in a lot, which was wonderful. A lot of it was training with their new medical director and the support staff from Washington University Medical Center. They mentioned that they did a comprehensive course on lithium-ion battery fires and looking at operation concerns, storage systems, and techniques to neutralizing any sort of battery fire. So because of that, they're researching EV blankets for electric vehicle fires. So when they have more information, they'll bring it back to this committee. They also obtained electric vehicle plug neutralizer, which you insert it in the port and places the vehicle in charge system status, preventing the vehicle from energizing. So that will help with any of those type of emergencies as well. So they've already obtained that. And then last, they are working on the hiring process. They have 12 applicants who are going through the testing process. And once they get done with that, they anticipate doing interviews in the first 2 weeks of August.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions for Eric with regard to the performance and the parts of the fire department report? Okay, seeing none, let's hear from Public Works.
Hello, just a few quick updates on various projects. Brentwood Boulevard at the Union Pacific Railroad. The railroad's actually done with their signals there. They tested them and said everything seems fine. I don't know if they've put them in operation yet. They were going to. So that way if a train comes through, it'll trigger them to go up and down. They still need to put the median in there, adjusted so that it meets with the road configuration. But that's later on. So as far as like completing the widening work along Brentwood Boulevard, that starts in August and goes all the way into September, like September 6th. Then they still have to put the Brentwood Park sign, which I know isn't safety related. And then lastly, like September would be mill and overlay Brentwood Boulevard, get that all paved. The longest lead item, which would be safety related, is the signal. The 55-foot mast arm is early October. So if that arrives in early October, they should be complete with all the signalization in that four-way intersection by late October, early November. So the project will wind down by the end of, beginning of fall, I guess, is a better way of stating it. So then we should be done with that project. Over on McKnight Road, the report that I had put in here has changed since we met with the contractor today. He's having difficulty getting all of the trucks and production of asphalt, but we're still gonna do it tomorrow. It's just a little changed in the sense that they'll start at 8 p.m. like we originally said, so they'll mill starting at Litzinger and McKnight, move their way north, but then they won't get the asphalt right behind it. They'll have the trucks start coming in there at like 6 a.m. I was like, well, it's during the rush on a Friday. What are you gonna do? And he said, well, we'll put up message boards. We'll ask people if they can detour to take Litzinger. If you want to stay northbound, we've got flaggers. We'll just get them through the work zone as best we can. But hopefully people will just, peel off once they get there. But it would take, let's see. He said anywhere from like 6 or 7 hours to do the asphalt. So he's like, we should be done by midday, 1 o'clock. He's like, and then we're done. And then we'll come back the following week and put the striping in. So I was like, well, there's never a great time to do McKnight with the volume of traffic. And I know we did talk about doing it like back to back, or we would stagger it one day and the next day. So You know, at one time they wanted to just have it one way, you know, just southbound and no northbound. I was like, that doesn't work at all, you know. So this is a compromise, but it's something that we'd already brought to the board's attention. It just came about today, and this is as good as we can get it. Otherwise, if we canceled it, then getting it back on the schedule could take a couple months to get us back in line, because they would go to other jobs. I was like, no, I don't want
Well,
that
they,
either.
you know, like, with the only neighborhood I can think of along that, where the only exit is onto McKnight Road is York Village, York Hills.
Yeah. I know like Whitehall's a dead-end road, so
and
what they're
Whitehall,
gonna
yeah.
bring is a water truck, so as soon as they lay the asphalt, roll it, get it the way it's supposed to be, they'll let it cool a little bit naturally and then, you know, run water over it to cool it down more rapidly.
Okay.
He's like, it won't harm it, but it'll get it cooler so that then when people drive over it, it won't rut or, you know, change the surface of it.
Okay.
I was like, well, at least if you're in York Village, you've got multiple avenues, whether it's Cricket or York Hills or two of the York Drives.
Right.
So, but once it's done, I mean, it'll be nice, you know.
Yeah.
And then switching gears, Lewis Avenue, we had someone call in a sinkhole, so that's not uncommon. We've had these before. So best we think it could be something sewer lateral related. We contacted MSD. We're just waiting on the dye test. We put cones over it, so it shouldn't be a problem. It's not directly in the drive lane, but it's just north of the Circle K, so we want to take care of that. And then lastly, I have Park Ridge on here. That storm event that happened on the 16th wound up flooding the basement of the home at Park Ridge and White on that northwest corner. It's actually directly across from Alderwoman Tice's house, if that tells you where it is. But that home had roughly 5 feet of water in the basement. So MSD's got a meeting on Friday. The homeowner asked if I could be there. It's in the stormwater report. There's a inlet and an easement where the Ameren poles are on the west side of that property, and that's where the pooling started originating, and it just went over the lawn and then down into like I guess like a walkout area, and it caved in the basement door, and all that water flooded. It damaged, of course, the hot water heater furnace, all the mechanical stuff. But I know the person's only been there like a month or two and wants to know whether this is recurring and what are we gonna do? So it's public safety related, since there's water in a basement to a significant amount. It's pretty amazing, because it was only like a 3-inch rain event. And apparently during the 22, like July, August 22, they didn't have that much water, and that was like a 7-inch rain event. So it's strange. Best I can tell is maybe there's something wrong with the piping, something blocked. But that's why we're there, to meet with MSD to see what can be done.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
it.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you, Dan.
Thanks.
The consent agenda contains the meeting minutes from April 24th, 2024. Has everybody had a chance to review them? And if so, does anybody want to make any changes? Hearing none, the meeting minutes will stand as approved. There is no old business. Under new business, we have 2 items, the asset forfeiture projects. I'm assuming this is police department? Bless you.
We spoke to Bola about doing a budget adjustment. She asked that we let you guys know in the Public Safety Committee what our request is, what the scope of it is. We've attached a memorandum for the purchase of 4 items. Right now, as we speak, we're a little bit over $300,000 total available in asset forfeiture money for the police department. Just as a reminder, that money is designated only for the police department and is specifically allowed to be spent on certain projects within our world. So these projects have all been checked and assured that they qualify for that. So to go through this memo, there are 4 items on here. The first one is probably the one that's most complicated, in that the others are pretty straightforward. It's a kitchen renovation, it's cages for our garage, and a plaque for our officer photos coming into the PD. Those are pretty self-explanatory. But I'd like to just spend a couple minutes on the handgun upgrade. Our handguns are not, our current handguns are not that old. They're only about 6 or 7 years old, the 6 hours that we carry at this point. We cannot transition into this new technology for sights using the guns we have. They just don't, it's not available. We feel, the command staff feels that these sites offer our police department and our city the opportunity to upgrade in what is the best choice in law enforcement moving forward for accuracy and dependability for the users. So basically, the difference between this gun and the guns we have are, if you're familiar with shooting, typically you will use the sight of any gun and line up back sight, front sight, and that's the manner in which people will shoot, and officers will shoot under duress. Sometimes we point shoot, or what's called point shooting under duress, which is proven to be quick but not necessarily all that accurate. This allows us to kind of meld those things together so that these sites red dot, and I've had familiarity with these from our SWAT team days back in the city. Our rifles were equipped with these, and it's the red dot technology is point and shoot, and that I will see a target that I have to shoot at and index that red dot, and wherever that red dot is located on that target is where that round's going to go. So it's extremely accurate based on the technology of the red dot location and the round delivery. The other advantage to this sight process is it's extremely quick. So officers can identify that red dot on the target and acquire that dot. As soon as that dot's acquired, they're ready to go. So their delivery of a round that's necessary to either save their lives or somebody else's life becomes quicker, more accurate when they use these. So as we ask to use asset forfeiture funds on this weapons system, we have researched these guns at the range. We've shot these guns at the range on loan from this company. We have watched the performance of our officers using this new sighting technology, and probably most important, our officers that are trained range officers say this is the future of law enforcement. And they're very confident in the transition process. So we will get a rebate from the company off our current guns, and I think they're going to allow our officers the opportunity to buy our current guns back from them if they choose to do that as part of this process. So the total price that Major Hawkins has listed on here, you'll see on your sheet. The weapon systems, and this includes the weapon, the red dot sight, and new holsters for those guns, because we're going to have to change out our holsters as well. So the total is $41,000 roughly, give or take a little bit either way. But that quote has come directly from Walter for the weapon system and for the gun sights. The other items that are on here, again, they're pretty self-explanatory. The kitchen, we're sitting in the building that's, I think, 25 years old, 26 years old, and that kitchen hasn't been renovated in 26 years. So it's showing its wear and tear. And we'd like to upgrade and just put in new cabinets and some tables and things like that for the officers. And just so you're aware, this area gets used every day and it's used frequently. I think it's important that we upgrade it. It's kind of expensive, but anybody that's done a kitchen like I have in the last couple of years knows this stuff's expensive. So Angie's working on getting bids from companies to do that project. The employee photo wall that you see listed, we had one, and you probably, all of you, I think, have been in our station and probably have seen that. Well, we had a little issue. It fell down and kind of collapsed. So we're looking to upgrade that, something that's a little bit more aesthetic. So that's one of the issues that you see on there, and I think that one was $5,000 for the photo wall. And then the last item is in the garage. It's just simply a storage cage area for some, what you probably call higher dollar items we want to lock up and make sure they're under lock and key. So, Angie and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys have relative. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any training for the new weapon?
There'll be no cost. Our range officers will be trained by the company, already have been. So they will be trained the trainers, and they will be training our department to do it.
How is the red dot activated?
That was gonna happen.
As soon as you draw your weapon from your holster, it's,
Found automatic?
yeah.
Or seeing the action adventure movies, like the red dots are.
I've always wondered, did they have to push a button to
That was
get
like
there?
touching the trigger or hitting the safety or something, or,
battery inside of
Yeah, it's battery operated, and when you deploy it, it lights up. When you point it at something, it's gonna red dot it.
Then when we went over the budget for '24, how much did you have in the forfeiture?
So in the memorandum, you'll see in there that, we had allotted, 85,000 was budgeted for different projects. Major Hawkins has spent about $27,000 already this year. We upgraded our gym equipment earlier, which was a big chunk of that. But as you can see, these four projects, cannot be covered by that amount. So that's why we're asking for a budget adjustment.
But these funds just recently came in to get you almost to 300,000 from that 85.
Yeah, they've been in for over a year now. Yeah.
What officer do we know was on that duty? DEA, I guess it was. that does-
Simpson,
Really?
Jason, yeah. Yeah, he did, he was part of a group at DEA, did a really nice case. And I believe what I was told by DEA was this was part of a yacht that they sold from the drug dealer that they arrested
A
years ago.
Miami Vice quality to it. Like,
Yeah, so it's pretty, I think it's a pretty cool story that won't go into it here. Yeah,
He the last one to participate in the program?
he is, yeah.
Would you ever consider?
Oh, I'm sorry, Nielsen was the last one. There was a decision made in, what, 15, I think?
Yes.
About 2015, there was a decision made to pull the officer out of DEA. I wasn't here for that. I don't know what the parameters of why that was done, but this will almost assuredly be the last dump of money from the DEA task force position that we had.
Having an officer participate in that program, then
I think it is.
besides the money we get.
I'm probably a little skewed asking me that because I was a DEA task force officer, so I know the value of a hardworking cop in that position in terms of assets that returns to the city. My answer is yes.
There's officers that would participate if
I know there are. They're begging to go to a job like that. It's, as you can imagine, it's high octane police work and a lot of fun. You're assigned to DEA. And the way they set that up is it's a little bit unlike Nick Lang when Nick went to the St. Louis County Police before we pulled him back to promote him, where county was paying all of his salary. In this scenario, we pay the officer's salary, DEA pays all their overtime. And, you know, so it's not as quite a good arrangement for the cities as the county was to have an instructor position. But they do pay all their overtime, and the benefit is if they're in an active group, and it takes a while. I mean, these asset seizures don't start coming back to the city. I'd throw you a number, 18 months would probably be the earliest you would see as they jump into these cases. But once they get rolling, and if you put the right person there, these are the kind of hits of money that will come into the city. Sometimes they come in really big chunks. I mean, we've seen cases of millions of dollars.
Looking for our committee, I'm not exactly sure, I understand the asset forfeiture budget amendment. Would we be sending it, given the fact that it's dedicated funds, would we be sending it to Ways and Means, or would we be sending it to the full board? I don't know.
you're the chair of this committee, I don't know.
Yeah.
Typically,
Great answer, thank you. What?
if this committee approves it, we'd move it forward to the Ways and Means Committee.
Okay.
And then it would show up at the Board of Aldermen as a budget amendment at the end of the year.
Got it. Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the asset forfeiture budget amendment along the guidelines of the memo from a public safety standpoint?
Second,
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
I was just curious, what kind of high dollar stuff goes in the cages?
Oh,
I mean, is
so-
it personal belongings or is
No,
it
no,
fancy
no.
guns or?
A lot of the times we have our riot gear and stuff that's currently being stored in the old holdover area with all the other things that go in the old holdover area, the mice and other bugs. We want to keep it up off the floor, and we want to make it more accessible to the officers. So the spike strips that we also spent asset forfeiture money on, we want to be able to have a secure place to store those. And then there's some additional rifle plates and things of that nature. If the officers need to come in a hurry and grab that stuff, it'll be more accessible and it'll be secure to where no one's gonna damage it accidentally, and it's not gonna get damaged by anything coming into the holdover.
And as to the guns, what is the average life expectancy of a,
I would say, I think they
Firearm.
warranty them for 10 years typically.
do these new fancy guns last as long?
Yes.
Well, the gun, yes. The sights that, you know, there's a shelf life on the sights as well.
Is
I don't
it-
know what they warranty them for.
Is
How
it
much.
just a matter of replacing the battery, or do you have to,
A
if
lot
the,
of them
like,
they are,
yeah,
yes.
like when the red dot battery dies, you don't have to get a new gun, you just,
No.
just
No.
switch out the battery?
Right, unless there was some kind of catastrophic damage to the optic itself.
That's it.
Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Chairman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller? Alderwoman Harder? Motion carries by a vote of 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's soon to be named Officer Simpson Secure Storage Cages. Is that,
That's excellent, I can't wait to share that.
okay. We also have participation in the Missouri Ground Emergency Medical Transport Program. This is from the fire department, correct?
That is correct.
And this is going to be you again.
Correct.
Okay, Eric, take it away.
So the fire department is looking for approval to extend their participation in the GEMT. The fire department's been doing it since 2019 in the initial contract with EMS management and the public consulting group. And the benefit of the PCG, was that they completed all the necessary forms, processed all the data, and were responsible for representing the city in mandatory federal audit of the program. So through that time, the city received, after it made a deposit of $35,000, over almost $36,000, but received a payment this year of $104,000, and the PCG fee was a little bit over $10,000. So the total benefit to the city was about $58,700. So the fire department would like to continue in this program. As a reminder, there's no pocket cost to the city or the residents. Really what this is I lost it. It's a reimbursing cost directly related to Medicaid patients. So they want to continue doing this. PCG will continue to do all the preparation, paperwork, and representation for the city for a fee of 15%. And so they'd like approval of this to be forwarded onto the board for the August meeting.
Any questions for Eric? Hearing none, can I get a motion to pass Resolution 1513 and recommend it be presented to the Board of Aldermen for approval?
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Chairman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller? Alderwoman Harder? Motion carries by a vote of 4-0.
Thank you. Again, it is time for citizen comments. If anybody in the room or anybody online is interested in addressing this committee with regard to any issues involving public safety in the city of Brentwood, you'll be recognized for a period of 3 minutes. Please identify yourself by name and address. Okay, I'll close citizen comments, and seeing no other items on the agenda, I declare this meeting adjourned.